Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I can't believe I'm filming this already. Like, this year, 2019, has gone so fast, but it's officially 2020, which is kind of like a pinch me moment. Like, I remember 2012 and everyone was sat there thinking they're gonna die, and now we're here at 2020. What? But it is a very exciting year. There is a lot happening for me this year, so to kind of get to grips with that and kind of get myself ready for this new change, I have made a list of all of my goals for 2020. I'm sure a lot of you have too. Not necessarily resolutions. I don't really like to have resolutions on like something that I really have to stick to, but just because I'm not very accountable for these kind of things, and I feel like it works a lot better for me if I just have a goal in mind and then just steps to work towards that, which I kind of guess is like a resolution in a way, but just not so like one sentence structured, that's it, you have to do it that way. But I thought it would be really fun to talk through my 2020 goals and kind of the steps I'm hoping to take to get there, and I've also got a few things I'd like to change. Now, this is a bit of a weird way of doing it. I know people in the new year like to be like super positive and be like, this is my goals, these are my ambitions, this is everything I'm going to do, but I think it is good to like reflect on some things that you could do better, and just things that you could change for the better to help you out a bit. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. I haven't yet written them in my diary just because that's something I like to do on like New Year's Day, and we're not there yet. It's currently like the 18th of December. So I am filming this a bit early, but I like to be prepared for these things, you know? So I'm going to go through my goals. There's no order to it, it's just kind of a bit random how I was thinking about it, the way like my mind travelled through the things I want to hopefully achieve next year, so I'm just going to chat through those with you. So my first goal is kind of a fun one, but it's, or I guess something just to tick off in 2020, but it's to go on a girls' holiday. Christian's going to Botswana with his dad next year, and I actually went on a girls' holiday last year with Sarah and Jada from uni, who are some of my favourite girls in the entire world, and it was so much fun. And since me and Jada are officially finishing uni this year, Sarah finished last year, it's kind of the end of an era, so we want to kind of like mark it with the girls' holiday. So I'm really hoping to do that this year, and some of the ways I'm hoping to do that is to set a date. Now, if you are in university or you've graduated and you have a real life job, you know how hard it is to pick out a date with some of your friends, and the more friends you have to try and like organise to get one date, the harder it is. Luckily there's 3 of us, so you'd think it'd be pretty simple, but I know Jada and Sarah both have very demanding jobs, and I still have yet to find a postgrad job, so that's another thing to consider, because we'd probably be going in like June time, because me and Jada finish in April, so that's something we have to consider, trying to find a date that works for all of us. That will probably be one of the biggest challenges. And then the next thing to note is just to save some money. This isn't too much of a stress for me just because I am moving this year, so I'm going to have some cheaper rent, so my outgoings won't be as large. But also I'm not going on a big holiday with Christian this year, so I can use some of the money that I would be using for that on my girls' holiday, which is nice. So like I mentioned, my next goal is to move house. Now, I quite like, it's kind of a cheat, but I quite like putting goals on my like 2020 list, my yearly list, that I know I'm going to achieve, like unless I die or something that really horrific happens. Like, it's bound to happen either way. So I quite like putting those on there just so I can take them off. And also that is like a significant life event, is me moving house. I have lived in this house for the last 3 years. It's my first ever house. It's the first house I lived in with a roommate. It's my first house I've lived in with Christian. So it holds an important place like in my life and in my heart, but it's just time to move on. So we are moving. We're moving to an apartment with some of our friends. They're also in a relationship, so it'll be really fun. And Christian's never actually had roommates, so I thought it'd be really cool for him to have that experience, because this will probably be the last house, or maybe penultimate house we live in before we're like married or like engaged kind of thing. So it will be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't got any like steps to getting there really, apart from like packing up my house, but I'm already doing that. So, and it's not 2020 yet, so it doesn't need to go on my 2020 list, but that's something that's really exciting that is happening in 2020. The next one is quite broad, but my next goal is just to take better care of myself this year. Not necessarily that I just don't take care of myself, like I definitely take time for myself and everything, but I just know I could do it better. I do not drink enough water. There are days where I could go without drinking anything. It's currently 11:30 and I haven't drunk a thing today, so do you know what I mean? Like, that ain't good. I need to change that. So just by drinking more water, maybe like getting a bit more stricter on my diet. Like I have a lot of sweet treats and I do indulge myself a lot. I am a binge eater, which is not fab. And I also don't work out. So it's just those kind of 3 things I know would have a huge effect on just like my outlook on life, my mental health and everything like that. So I think it is important to try and take better care of yourself. I know a lot of people have the resolution like, I'm gonna lose 8 pounds, or I'm gonna go to the gym every day, or whatever. But for me, that's just not realistic. And I think, being completely honest, I do not like to fail in games, in education, in anything in life. I like to win. I'm one of those really annoying people, and I'm a really, really bad loser. So if I make it as structured as that, with like a time frame on it and a number to like measure myself against, and I don't do it, that for me is gonna really like slow down my progress, and like it's just going to have a very negative effect. Whereas if I just make it a bit more general, just to take better care of myself, that for me is way more manageable, way more achievable, and I have already put in some steps to achieving that. So as I said, I'm moving, so I've looked up the local gym there and I'm going to get the gym membership there. I've also been in touch with an online PT who's going to help me out and kind of give me like a weekly schedule and help with like my food, like nutrition plan and everything like that. So I am taking the steps to get there. I've also asked for a really cool water bottle for Christmas, so we'll be drinking more water. But they are some of the steps I have taken to getting there already, and it's just something that I am hoping to implement next year. Another thing about it is that I've actually created a gratitude journal. I might do like a separate video on that once I've got it started, but I created it basically from scratch, and I haven't started yet because I want to start it in the new house. The new house is kind of going to be my new 2020 start date, I guess. So January the 18th is when we'll officially be moving in, and I feel like from there it will be like everything will change. My whole routine, my whole schedule, everything's going to change when I move into that house. So I feel like it's going to be a lot easier to break bad habits and implement a new way of thinking and a new routine to kind of get me in the habit of all of these things. And one of those things is to complete a gratitude journal, like diary entry every day. So I've made sure I've got enough for the year, and I haven't put dates on it or anything, so I don't have to do it in order. I can kind of flick through and pick out what's appropriate for me that day. But I've been listening to the What We Said podcast. I've mentioned that podcast probably in like my last 7 videos. It's so good. But they were mentioning about the power of like having a grateful mindset and everything like that, and just the positive outlook it gives you on life. And for me as a type A personality, I have a very short fuse. Like I don't have a lot of patience, and I feel like I can be quite negative sometimes, not all the time, but catch me on a bad day and I can be negative. But I feel like starting out with a gratitude journal, think about things that I'm really grateful for in my life and things that make me thankful and everything like that, will just start me off on the right foot in the day. And because I'm still at uni, so my time, like my week is very flexible, I do have the time to fit that in, and realistically it's only going to take like 5 minutes. So that's something else I'm hoping to introduce in 2020. My next goal kind of goes against what I said earlier, but it's to get a first degree at university. As I mentioned, I will be graduating in July. I finish in April. So I've got like 4 months left to really pull my socks up and make sure I get that grade. Now, if in 4 months time I'm telling you that I didn't get a first and I got a 2-1, that's fine, but I will be slightly gutted. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with the 2-1. That is so like industry-wide accepted. Like that's a really great grade to get. But I just know I have the potential to get a first if I really push myself. And that sounds quite intense, like a lot of pressure, and no one is putting pressure on me at all. It's all me. Like my parents are fine, whatever I get, they're like, you've done really well, like we're really proud of you, of how far you've got, blah blah blah. Christian could not care less. Like obviously he wants me to do well and try hard, but at the end of the day, if I fail, he's not going to think any less of me. So it is really just me putting this pressure on myself, and in some kind of sick, twisted way, I'm quite proud of the amount of pressure I put on myself, which sounds so wrong, but by putting this pressure on myself, it makes me feel more determined to do it, and like there's no choice, I have to do it because I have this pressure on myself, which sounds very unhealthy, but that's the way my brain works apparently when it comes to grades. So I'm really hoping to get a first. I'm on the right track. so far with the grades I've received so far. I've only received one, so it's not much to go off, but so far so good. But I have been like, this is my Christmas break and I've been doing my dissertation and things. Don't get me wrong, I am no way like working myself to the bone. And I wouldn't even say that I'm putting in 100%, because if I was, I'd be working from like 9 till 8 every day, which I'm not. So I do uni work probably 4 times a week, so like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and I probably do it for a maximum of like 3 or 4 hours. And those 3 hours could be spent really productively or just like semi-productively. So I'm still like enjoying my life, going out, doing all these things. Some days if I don't feel like it, I just don't do it. But in those 3 and 4 hours, I do try very hard to get it done. And I have set up like a time schedule in my mind for like, this needs to be done then. And I do not submit anything if I'm not really proud of it. And that's something I'm hoping to carry on in 2020 when my assignments get a bit more intense and there's a bit more of them and they're kind of a longer length. Like I've got a 10,000 word dissertation. I will be trying really hard to make sure everything I submit I am truly proud of, and that I look at it next to the mark scheme, which is kind of a hack for anyone if you're out there. Like, write your essay whilst looking at the mark scheme, and if you don't, like, go over it one last time and just kind of adapt some sentences to like tick off those keywords in the mark scheme. But yeah, that is how I'm hoping to get a first next year. If I don't, I don't, but if I do, I will be pretty damn chuffed with myself. My next goal is to celebrate 5 years with Christian. So me and Christian have been going out for like 4 and a bit years so far, and our anniversary is in September. So again, this at this point is something that's just bound to happen, which sounds, I don't know if that sounds big-headed, but like we are I don't know what to say. We really like each other. But yeah, so I'm hoping to celebrate 5 years with Christian, which hopefully I won't have to work towards too hard to get, because I seem to be doing alright so far. These last 2 goals are slightly contradictory to what I've been saying before, because they do have a number on it. But the first one is to save at least £200 a month. Now this is incredibly realistic for me, just because I am moving house to a lower rent property. So I will have like an extra, what do you call it, disposable income I guess, from what I would be paying for rent. But I'm just simply going to pick that up and move it into my savings account, just because eventually me and Christian do want to buy a house, hopefully like back home in Bournemouth, like New Forest area, which can be pretty damn expensive. So I think by saving now we'll save ourselves a lot of headache later, and because we have the means to do so, it just makes sense. And if you've been here a while, you know I love saving me some money, so I'm hoping to save £200 a month. I think it is realistic for like whilst I'm still at uni to be able to do that, and then maybe once I get a job I could either increase it or just carry it on, depending on obviously what that starting wage is, which I have no idea yet because I haven't got it, so we'll have to wait and see. The next one is to hit 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. Now, I know there's a hell of a lot more that goes into YouTube than just the number of subscribers. Like, your watch time matters, your views matter, but there's something just about having that 1,500 mark that would mean so much, especially because I think at the moment I'm like 750 subscribers, so it's basically like doubling. Is it yeah, basically doubling what I have now, which I think in a year is quite ambitious, but the kind of trajectory that my channel's on, I think that could potentially be possible. But this is very much, like I said, because I know there's so much more in YouTube then that matters rather than just your subscriber count. I'm not putting a huge bearing on this. It would just be something nice to tick off, like to see that number would mean so much, just because I've been doing YouTube since like 2012 or 2013, like on and off. And I remember like even getting to like 100 subscribers was such a huge thing for me. So I think to get to that number in 2020 would just be really, really cool. That's just something else I've put up there. And the way I'm hoping to do that is obviously to continue to upload like 2 or maybe 3 times a week, depending on how I feel. And I just want to talk about things that I really love. So like this video, some people would be like,
oh my gosh, that's so boring. She's just talking about what she's hoping to achieve in 2020, like no one cares.
But for me, I'm a big planner. Like I do event management as a degree, like planning is my life. So being able to write a list about the things I'm hoping to achieve and things that I can tick off makes me very happy. it makes me happy, and it's a great way to like stay organised. So this is something like I'm really passionate about and I really like, and I would encourage you all to do. So yeah, I have been finding myself, not so much recently, but maybe like a couple of months ago, just uploading things that were like trendy or things that I felt like I had to upload because I needed a video today and I didn't have time to film anything else. And obviously those videos just don't do as well as the other ones, just because my heart's not really in it, you know, like sure I'm thinking about it and like trying to get a good shot, trying to communicate my opinions and everything, which are obviously true and honest, but I think just uploading things that I'm actually passionate about and I really like and I would personally watch is a lot better way to do that. Then I have 2 things noted that things that I want to improve upon. There's not necessarily a goal linked to them, they're just things that I think I could work on in 2020. And one of them is to take more photos. Now, this is a bit of a hard one for me. I don't feel like I don't take photos at all, I definitely do. But I find when I'm in a new situation, so like with people I don't necessarily know that well, I don't tend to take photos, which I mean is fine, I think that's natural. But also I have friends who just don't take photos, and like Christian is a very like big factor in this. Like he does not take photos. Like we are the kind of people, when we're hanging out with people, we don't get our phones out, which is fair enough, but it also means we do really lovely things with our friends and then we just don't have a photo. Like we hang out with a couple called Dal and Hannah all the time. It's like Christian's old schoolmate, but the amount of photos we have together is very, very few, which I think is kind of sad because you may as well document those moments, you know. So I think I just kind of need to get over the fact, like, sure, people might think it's a bit strange that you want to take a picture of us all having Sunday lunch, but that might not happen again, you know. Like that might have been like a really fun memory that you could hold on to. So I'm hoping to take more photos. I've also got a Polaroid camera which I've used maybe 10 times, which I'm hoping to use more of as well. I've actually got it in my suitcase packed to go home for Christmas, so I'm hoping to get some cute photos then. But again, that's something else I want to try to do a bit more of, just because they're so dang cute. But the next thing on my list, the final thing, we've finally got there, is to get into a weekly routine / schedule. Now I think I mentioned this, but also just at the moment, because my uni's finished and I only go to uni twice a week, every day is different for me. I get up at different times, I go to bed at different times, I do different things within that day. And for me, I'm sure you can gather by now, I need structure in my life, and that's just not the way my brain works best in. So I'm hoping in the new year, whilst at home and whilst in my new place that I'm living, which I'm very excited about, I can set a time to wake up every day. Almost like I had a 9-to-5 job, but obviously I don't. But it's just nice to have that routine in my life. So I want to wake up at like 8:30 or like 8:45 every day, and I want to go to the gym, and then I want to be either in the library or at home working on something from like, I don't know, 12 till 4, and then after that I can go home and chill out for a few hours, and then I'll cook dinner, and then after dinner I'll watch a show with Christian, or I'll read my book, or I'll DIY something, just to have that kind of like me time scheduled in there as well. And then I'll go to bed at like 11 and then start again. So it's so easy to do. Like, saying it sounds so easy, but for some reason I just haven't implemented that. I think because obviously there's no one holding me accountable. Like, if I want to sleep until 11 I can. So, and I'm sure there will be days where I do choose to do that, but I think for me to work best and like be the most productive and get the things I want out of 2020, like all of those things I listed, I think the only way to do that is to implement a schedule and kind of stick to it. So I think it will be interesting to see how all of this spiel that I've just said pairs up with next year. But I think maybe in summer I'll do like a 6-month kind of review on how my goals and like things I'm hoping to improve on are going so far, because that would be pretty cool. But yeah, they are all my goals and things I'm hoping to improve in 2020. Definitely let me know what some of your goals are down below, because I could definitely use some inspo for seeing what your goals are, seeing what you guys are up to. That would be so cool, and I could kind of add to my own list from that. If you have liked this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe down below. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's, and I hope you're really looking forward to 2020. I personally think it's going to be a really good year, so definitely stick around to see what I get up to, and hopefully I'll see you soon.